Hello and welcome. I am Scrapperlock, and this is Starforged Alpha Cluster Session 0 Part 1. And what we're going to do now is create the basically campaign universe that we are going to be doing and playing in Starforged. So there are a couple of maps here, and let me just move this pop-up to the side so we can see it. We're beginning in a galaxy much like our own. Maybe it is the Milky Way. I don't know. I kind of feel like it's Triangulum, which is our next nearest neighbor after Andromeda. That's a spiral galaxy. In any case, there were humans living throughout this galaxy, much like the galaxy in Star Wars, where there's humans all throughout the galaxy, and much like, maybe even more so, like Isaac Asimov's Robots and Empire and Foundation books, where in that series, basically, we never found any sentient life, and the entire galaxy was eventually colonized by humans thousands and thousands of years in the future. And so this galaxy here, this spiral galaxy, was populated by humans that lived all over, maybe not through the whole galaxy, but a big chunk of it, right through one of the arms. And then something happened, a cataclysm, which we're going to define as we do our truths, and it wiped out all human life in the galaxy. And humans then, in some fashion, whether it's on generational starships that took 1,700 years to travel, or whether it's on using warp drives or whatever, and again, we're going to decide that when we do the world truths, they left our home region here and somehow traveled to this nuclear star cluster, NSC 8412, which sort of hovers over, it's orbiting the galaxy. Because it's 1,700 light years away, it's far enough from the galaxy that whatever destroyed the galaxy isn't active in the Forge. And we are forging, hence the name, a new home here. So this is much like Ironsworn, where you left the old world and you end up on a continent and you have to like sort of tame it. It's been a couple of hundred years. It's a little longer than in Ironsworn, where it's only been maybe 50 or 75 years. It's been a couple of hundred years since humans first reached the Forge. And I mean, if we look at the Forge here, you can see that the Forge has several regions. We arrived in the Terminus, which is the most settled area, much like the Havens in Ironsworn. Then there are the Outlands, which is sort of like the Hinterlands, and the Barrier Islands and the Ragged Coast in Ironsworn, where there's some settlements, but there's a lot of lawlessness. And then there's the Expanse, which is this vast, mostly unexplored area. And then out along the edge of it is the Void. Nope, not many people go out there. There aren't that many stars out there, and it's kind of scary out there. So we're probably going to start in the Outlands. The Terminus is very heavily populated, and I don't really want to get into like political intrigue, assassinations, and stuff. I want to do exploration. And so I have an idea for that for the characters. So we're probably going to start in the Outlands. But first, we have to create the world truth. So I want to mention a couple of things here. I am using Ben Straub, I think his name is. He created for Foundry Virtual Tabletop, which is an awesome virtual tabletop. And hopefully anybody who needs a virtual tabletop will see how good this is and think about using it. You can use it for Dungeons and Dragons and Pathfinder and Call of Cthulhu. There's modules for all of it. There's a bunch of official modules for Savage Worlds. All the campaigns they put out for Savage Worlds, you can pay like 15 or 20 bucks and import the whole campaign directly into your tabletop. So it's really cool. And what Ben has done, working with this other guy named Dice T. So Dice T started with Starforged. Ben was doing Ironsworn, and they sort of merged their packages. So now you do both of them in one package. It's being maintained by Ben. It's pretty cool. So you can do both. And we're going to be doing Starforged here, but you could also run Ironsworn in here as well. Now, one of the things I do want to point out is this color scheme and the fonts are the Ironsworn fonts. And the reason I've chosen that is that the Starforged, which is like black with bright blue, and it looks more science fiction-y, more appropriate to Starforged, is still listed as experimental, and there's a couple of little bugs with it in terms of the way the fonts look. So I'm just going to wait until they update that, and once it's been updated, we'll start using the Starforged fonts and everything. So we're using Starforged character sheet, we're using moves and oracles for Starforged, and we are going to start with the setting truths. Here are the truths of this version of the Forge that we're going to be playing in this alpha cluster experience. So the first question we have to ask is, what was the cataclysm that chased us from that spiral galaxy? There were three options. One is the Sun Plague. The Sun Plague extinguished the stars in our home galaxy. The anomaly traveled at incredible speeds, many times faster than light itself, and snuffed out all the stars around us before we realized it was coming. Few of us survived. We made our way to this new galaxy. So that makes it sound like the galaxy that we're orbiting isn't really like, I don't know if that's supposed to be the galaxy. That they mean a new galaxy and the Forge is orbiting it, or whether they're just considering the Forge its own little mini galaxy. Not sure. So I don't know exactly what that means. Not a fan of that one. Interdimensional entities invaded our reality. Without warning, these implacable and enigmatic beings ravaged our homeworlds. We couldn't stand against them. With the last of our defenses destroyed, with the hope gone, we cast our fate in the Forge. Here we can hide and survive, and the entities took the form of, and then there's some random stuff that you can roll, and I will bring that up if we choose it. And then we fled the ravages of a catastrophic war. Over a millennia, we consumed our resources, shattered our lives as we fueled the engines of industry, expansion, and war, and so on. I feel like I like this one, the interdimensional. Here's the options. The interdimensional entities invaded our reality. The reason I like this is I spent a lot of time a few years ago with a friend of mine, co-op, playing Stellaris, which is a really cool galactic conquest game, and you make up empires, and you conquer the galaxy. And there's an end game event. If it takes you long enough, after a certain number of centuries, I think, all of a sudden an extragalactic force will appear, and one of them is like happens within the galaxy, like machine intelligence arises. Another one is these enigmatic beings from outside the galaxy that have like psionic powers, and it's really hard to stop them. So I kind of imagine a Stellaris situation where these things came in from the outside. And I think I like the idea of world-eating abominations of unimaginable scale. So something came in, and I don't know that they actually ate the worlds or just ate what was on the worlds and then claimed them. And I think that's probably what happened. And the quest starter is here in the Forge. A rogue faction holds an artifact of these interdimensional entities. So maybe we'll use that. Don't know. We had to leave. So the next thing is the Exodus. How did we leave? When the Exodus fleet set off on a ponderous journey to our new home, they marked the Forge as a destination. Countless generations lived out their lives aboard those titanic ships during the millennia-long passage. So it's 1,700 light years. If you're traveling at about the speed of light, it would take about 1,700 years. And so basically there's an entire history on these ships. The second option is a ragtag fleet of ships propelled by experimental FTL drives carried our ancestors to the Forge, but the technology that powered these ships is said to be the source of the sundering, which is fracturing our reality. Not sure I like the idea of reality fracturing. I feel like there's going to be enough to do without reality fracturing. Mysterious alien gates provided instantaneous one-way passage to the Forge. And, somebody on the Ironsworn Discord, we were talking about these truths, and they were talking about the difference between Ironsworn and Starforged, and they were talking about how much they liked the iron pillars. And one of them said maybe the iron pillars are the floating in space, and they are the gate, which is kind of cool. But I actually like these generation-long starships, and so I think that's what we're going to pick. So it took 1,000 years to get here at just barely the speed of light or whatever. Next is our communities. Few survived the journey, and we are scattered to the winds. Dangers abound, but there is safety in number. Many ships and settlements are united under the banner of founder clans. I'm just checking my notes here of which one I said I wanted to do. And then we made our mark in this galaxy, but the energy storms we call balefires threatened to undo our progress, leaving communities isolated and vulnerable. Starships navigate along these bustling trade routes between settlements. We've built burgeoning outposts, but this hard-earned success is threatened by the chaotic balefires, intense energy anomalies which cut off the trade routes. I like few survived, and there are hundreds of far-flung settlements that are isolated within the untamed chaos of this galaxy, and we don't quite know their fate. So that's another one. Then iron. There are 3 ways you could be swearing iron vows. One is that iron vows are sworn upon the remnants of ships that carried our people to the forge. And I really like that one. Then there's totems crafted by enigmatic metal we call black iron. This is very similar to the black iron that came from the stars in Iron Sworn. And so if I had used that in the last playthrough instead of the iron pillars, I would be tempted to use that to keep it connected. But we used iron pillars last time, so we're not going to do that. Or Iron Sworn bind their honor to iron blades. I like the idea of it being the remnants of ships. Many of our outposts were built from the bones of the Exodus ships. Fragments of the ships were also given to survivors as a remembrance and passed from one generation to the next. Today, the Iron Sworn swear vows upon them. And the quest starter here is very cool. I think I'm going to definitely use this at some point because I like it. The iron shard you carry is a small piece of the outer hull of an Exodus ship. The navigational chart inscribed on its surface only reveals itself when exposed to the light of a specific star. Where is the map purported to lead, and why are you sworn to follow it? Who seeks to claim the map for themselves? I don't know about any of those, but I like that as a starting condition. Then laws. Much of the settled domains are lawless frontier. Criminal factions and corrupt leaders often hold sway. The second option is that laws and governance vary across settled domains, but bounty hunters are given wide latitude to pursue their contracts. Their authority is almost universally recognized. Then the third one is that the communities are bound under the terms of the Covenant, a charter established after the Exodus. Organizations called the Keepers are sworn to uphold their laws. This reminds me a lot of the Wardens. Most settlements are still governed under the Covenant and yield to the authority of the Keepers, but a few view the Covenant as dogmatic. I like the Covenant. Although we're pretty scattered. I actually think it makes more sense to be scattered and to have a lawless frontier. So I was originally thinking this one, that's what I have in my notes, but I'm actually ditching that, and I'm going to go with this one. So powers rise and fall in the Forge. Authority is fleeting. In the end, we must fend for ourselves. A few communities are bastions of successful autonomy, but many are corrupted and preyed upon by petty despots, criminals, and raiders. I like that. Lawlessness. Religion. I think we're going to not have a lot of religion in here. I think we're going with our gods failed us and we left them behind. The Exodus was a tipping point. The gods offered no help to the billions who died in the Cataclysm, and spirituality has little meaning in the Forge. Most now see religion as a useless relic of the past, but the search for meaning continues, and many are all too willing to follow a charismatic leader who claims to offer a better way. Then magic is the next one. And for this one, I think I'm going to choose the middle. So one is magic does not exist. I was tempted by this. Because it's science fiction, but I like this second one. Supernatural powers are wielded by those rare people we call paragons. While not magic in the truest sense, the abilities of paragons are as close to magic as we can conjure. And then there's unnatural energies. Magic and science are two sides of the same coin. I don't think I want to do that. Here's why I like this. I like this because this reminds me a little bit of Mass Effect with the biotics, and how the biotic powers are sort of like almost like psionics, but they're done through essentially like genetic engineering. So I like the idea of genetically engineered, super-powered beings, and I have an idea for what some of them are going to be doing as we keep going through these truths. Next is communication and data. One is much was lost when we came to the Forge. It is a dark age. Not sure I like that. That's too similar to the Ironlands. I want to do some things different. Information is life. We rely on spaceborne couriers to transport messages and data across the vast distances between settlements. And then the third one is in settled domains, a network of data hubs called the Weave allow near instantaneous communication and data sharing between outposts. Because of their importance, Weave hubs are often targets of sabotage and communication blackouts are not uncommon, and so on. And here's what I like about this, and this is the idea that I got as I was looking this over. I think it might be cool if the genetically engineered superpowers from up here, at least some of it is weaving, right? That the individual hubs have to have weavers powering them, right? And they're genetically engineered to do this. Now, I don't think that's all of the genetically engineered quote-unquote super magic that's going to exist, but I think a lot of why they go looking for people who have this potential and genetically engineer them to do this is so that they can do the weave and we can have communication. And it may be that these folks are practically slaves, right? If they've been genetically engineered from birth to do the weaving, and then they're taken from their families like a young, Padawan for a Jedi Knight when they're kids and trained to weave and stuck in the hubs and forced to work 12 hours a day like a sweatshop. That sounds like a cool idea, and maybe one of them escapes and we have to do something with it. So that's kind of cool. Then the next question is medicine. And one option is our advanced medical technologies and expertise were lost during the Exodus. Healers are rare and ill-equipped. Untold numbers succumb to sickness and injury. Those who survive often have scars. The second option is to help offset the scarcity of medical supplies and knowledge. Resourceful technicians we call riggers create basic organ and limb replacements. Much was lost in the Exodus. And what remains of our medical knowledge and expertise is co-opted by the privileged and the powerful. For most, advanced medical care is simply out of reach. When someone suffers a grievous injury, they'll often turn to a rigger for a makeshift mechanical solution. I like this idea. And then orders of sworn healers preserve our medical knowledge and train the new generation. So what I like about this middle one is, again, because we have genetically engineered people being the magic people, it's also possible that maybe some folks are genetically engineered to be warriors, and then maybe against their will they just get things replaced, like getting their hand replaced by some hand that's got like a gun in like a hole in the hand, like an Iron Man thing, and they just start blasting you. I don't know. We'll see how that goes, but I like this middle one. Artificial intelligence. One option is we no longer have access to advanced computer systems. Instead, we must rely on seers we call adepts, or the vestiges of machine intelligence are coveted and wielded by those in power, or artificial consciousness emerged in the time before the Exodus, and sentient machines are here with us. And what did I think I wanted to pick? So I like this because, again, maybe these guys are the genetically engineered guys, right? Maybe the adepts run the weave. I think that all kind of goes together. So, do we want to have it be that they were outlawed in the aftermath of the machine wars, the energies corrupt? I don't want the energies to corrupt advanced systems because we might find some or make some. I think we've lost the knowledge. War. Here in the Forge, resources are too precious to support organized fighting forces or professional soldiers. Defend or expand the holdings of those able to pay. The rest of us are on our own, or war never ends. Talented weaponsmiths and shipwrights craft deadly high-tech tools. I feel like that one doesn't really fit with the fact that we are scattered and few in number. I think there should be some mercs. Mercenary guilds wield power in the Forge. Some are scrappy outfits of no more than a dozen soldiers. Others are sector-spanning enterprises, deploying legions of skilled fighting forces and fleets of powerful starships. Most hold no loyalty except to the highest bidder. I like that. And then life forms. One is, this is a perilous and often inhospitable galaxy, but life finds a way. Another is many sites and planets are infested with dreadful forge spawn. These aberrant creatures threaten to overrun other life in the galaxy. And the third one is life in the forge was seeded by and engineered by the Essentia, ancient entities who enact their inscrutable will. I'm not usually a fan of like one force that seeds life through a whole galaxy, so we're going to say no to that. Do we want to do forge spawn? Or do we want to do planets have a vast array of creatures in our starship's crews with spaceborne life forms riding in their wake? Even animals from our homeworld carry aboard the Exodus ships have adapted. I kind of like that. Lots of different life forms. Precursors. So, over the eons, a vast number of civilizations rose and fell within the Forge today. The folk we call grubs, scavenger crews, and audacious explorers delve into the mysterious monuments and ruins of those ancient beings. And I like that one because I think our first character is going to be a grub. The Ascendancy is an advanced spacefaring empire that once ruled the entire Forge, and there are vaults of inscrutable purpose. Well, our Delver could also be looking that stuff up. Or biomechanical life forms we call the remnants, engineered by ancient civilizations as weapons in cataclysmic war, survive the death of their creators. I don't like that one. I like the fact, like, I don't know if we should do one civilization or a lot. I like one. Some secrets are best left buried, but many have been lost to the forsaken depths of the vaults. And then horrors. And one is put enough alcohol in a spacer, and they'll tell you that stories of ghost ships crewed by vengeful undead, it's nonsense. Or most insist horrors aren't real, spacers know the truth. Or the strange energies of the Forge give unnatural life to the dead. The soul binders are an organization. I feel like that's too organized. I like the middle one. A lot of times I like the middle track. When you travel the depths of the Forge, be wary. Death is not always the end to our suffering. Some say we are cursed by those who did not survive the Cataclysm, and the veil between life and death is forever weakened. Supernatural occurrences and entities are especially common near white dwarf stars. These stellar objects, which spacers call ghost lights, are the decaying remnants of a dead star. So that is our world truths. And then once we do that, it automatically generates these for us, which is very cool. And so we have now completed our setting truths and sort of designed what the universe that we're living in is going to be like. And I think that that is enough for this episode. I do want to show you one little trick that you can do in Foundry. So these are the journal entries. You can make folders, and I eventually will do that as we get more of these. But one thing you can do is you can drag and drop a journal right onto the map. So now if we're ever on this map and we want to know what the setting truths are, we can just open it from here instead of having to go to the sidebar. So in the next episode, we're going to create our first character, and hopefully it's our only character for a while, because I don't necessarily want the first character to die. And then after that, we will work on creating our first sector. So now this, I've got a hex map here. It's not really, each hex is not a sector. There are a lot more sectors than that. Because these hexes would be, I don't know, many, many light years across. And so I don't even know what the distance of what the scale of the Forge is, but probably like a couple hundred light years, maybe more. So yeah, sectors are going to be much smaller than that because they only have a handful of settlements in them usually. So they're not going to be the size of a whole hex, but you can't make the hexes any smaller than this in Foundry. And I don't have a bigger picture, and I think if I blow it up, it'll just get grainy. So we'll sort of ignore the size of the hexes and not worry about that too much. So we've got our world truths, our setting truths set, and we are ready to create our character, which we'll do in the next episode. I hope you've enjoyed it. Until next time, I am Scrapperlock, and this is Starforged Alpha Cluster.